Alright, think we go. It's doing its... Okay, green light. There we go. Okay, so now I need to bring this down. Alright, I think we good. We're good to go. Let's do chapter 20 that I just recorded. The ride to Watatsumi Island had been a peaceful stroll accompanied by sights that would bewilder anybody who came into sight of them. The most notable had been another of Inazuma's islands far off in the distance, a giant plume of clouds and a radiant purple hue spotlighting the massive land. The main center point of the island looked like a giant crater that had been formed by the collision of something like a meteor or comet. But upon their guide explaining that it wasn't a crater, okay, bring that back. Okay, hang on. Or comet. The breaths. I remember that line was a bit of a bugger. But upon their it was a little too quick. Comment. But upon their guide explaining that it wasn't a crater, nor had been formed into its current state by an object. Comment. But upon their guide explaining that it wasn't a crater, comment. But upon their guide explaining that it wasn't a crater, nor had been formed into its current state by an object beyond their world, the three had been left stunned. By the time they had met, the three had been left stunned. Hello, Issy. By the time they had met any eye shot of the shores of their by the time they had met any eye shot of the shores of their destination, over an hour had passed since their departure from Tenchukaku. Upon seeing Watatsumi Island for the first time, the three were captivated by its appearance. To say it was beautiful was an understatement. The island gave a sense of welcome and peace, something that Ganyu, Kuching, and Yelan had been seeking desperately ever since the fall of Liyue Harbor's existence. Upon coming into contact... Okay. Take that breath out. That right here. Upon coming into contact with the island shores, they were immediately met with the soul... Ay, caramba, me. Why are you breathing so hard? Hello, Commenter Dragon. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that. Island shores. They were immediately met with a soldier that was armed with a spear. This was no... Island shores. They were immediately met with a soldier that was armed with a spear. This was no surprise to any of them, knowing that they were strangers to the occupants of Watatsumi Island, so they treated the approach with care. Halt! Ow. That'll go down though, so I'm not worried about it. Gotta get those out though. The guard demanded. In the name of the divine priestess, I demand that you... Jesus. Is my gain up too high or something? Maybe it was a little too close to the mic. The guard demanded. In the name of the divine priestess, I demand that you identify yourselves and state your reason for coming here. Yelan took the lead in this. In the name of the divine priestess, I demand that you... Okay, pull that back. I demand that you identify yourselves and state your reason for coming here. I demand that you... Of the divine priestess, I demand that you identify yourselves and state your reason for coming here. There's gonna be a lot of taking out for breaths. Name of the divine priestess, I demand that you identify yourselves and state your reason for coming here. That's fine. Yelan took the lead in the situation, being the best at negotiation. Why did negotiation come out like how fast? Hello, Black Widow? That's the name. Okay, pull that back. Being the best at negotiation. Greetings. Nope. Okay, I gotta take that out as well, because those will get caught in the noise gate. If this doesn't take too long, we're going to be noise gating as well. Greetings. My name is Yelan. She started calmly. These two are my comrades, Miss Ganyu and Kuching. These two are my comrades, Miss Ganyu and Kuching. We've come under order of the Raiden Shogun to speak with your leader, Sanganamiya Kokumi. We have no malicious intentions, nor wish to pose any threat to you or anyone who occupy this land. Nor wish to pose any threat to you or anyone who occupy this land. Nor wish to pose any threat. Nor wish to pose any threat to you. We have no malicious intentions, nor wish to pose any threat to you. We have no malicious intentions, nor wish to pose any... Okay, I gotta get that out. So what that sounds like, it sounds like a little piece of the voice getting in there, so get that out. Bring that about right there, pull it back. Let's see if that might work. No malicious intentions, nor wish to pose any... Nope. Oh, shit. I'll be over here for an hour while in your voiceover. Alright, I need to zoom in a little bit here. Why does that have such a... Tensions. Nor... Maybe right there? Tensions. There we go. Okay. Now we've got her. There we go. That's more like it. Just intentions, nor wish to pose any threat to you or anyone who occupied this land. The guard didn't lower his weapon. Again, not surprising Yelan the slightest. A likely story, but unless you show me proof that you were sent by the Shogun under innocent intent, I will not even consider your request. Very well. Oh, the guard proposed. I will not even consider your by the Shogun under innocent intent. I will not even consider your request. Nope, never took a class. And by this, I've either learned from like YouTube videos or other people. Very well. Oh, the guard proposed. Very well. Okay, pull that back. The guard proposed. A little further back than that. The guard proposed. Very well. Yelan answered, grabbing a rolled-up piece of paper from Kuching, who had been carrying a submitted letter of confirmation ever since they'd left Tenchukaku. Pull that back. Paper from Kuching, who had been carrying a submitted letter of confirmation ever since they'd left Tenchukaku. She handed out the paper to the guard, to which he took, unrolled, and read. After a short 30 seconds, he rolled the letter back up and followed up with a second request. Okay. Your letter checks out, but if you have no reason to cause harm or endangerment to the Divine Priestess, then I ask that you disarm yourselves of any weapons you may have on you. He requested. Only after that will I allow you to even take one step onto Watatsumi Island. There we go. Yelan nodded in understanding, turning to Kuching and Ganyu. Now let's bring that back. Step onto Watatsumi Island. Yelan nodded in understanding, turning to Kuching and Ganyu. Well, ladies, you heard the man. Hand over your weapons. Oh, hand your weapons over. I swear to fucking God. Hand over your weapons. Okay,
that's the right
hand
wavelength. That's the right wavelength.
Hand your weapons over. You heard the man. Hand your weapons over.
That'll work.
The two nodded in agreement, and one by one...
No, I'm not happy with it. Let's bring that back a little bit. Alright, there.
Well, ladies, you heard the man. Hand your weapons over.
Better.
The two nodded in agreement, and one by one gave Yelan their weapons.
It must feel like an accomplishment always hearing the... Yes, it does. It does. Especially when it's a big project like what Reborn was. Ow.
The two nodded in agreement, and one by one gave Yelan their weapons.
Okay.
Ganyu was first, reaching out...
Pull that out. Bring this about right here.
Ganyu was first, reaching out and giving her comrade the Amos bow she'd carried as her tool of defense ever since receiving it from the person of the same name in the Archon War. It was a gift she'd received as a thank you after Ganyu had done her best to protect them in a siege where they were... After Ganyu had done her best to It was a gift she'd received as a thank you after...
Hold that back.
It was a gift she'd received as a thank you after Ganyu had done her best to protect them in a siege where they were greatly outnumbered. With her abilities as a half Qilin and almost as... Oh god, that's hard to say. With her abilities as a half Qilin and almost as... I swear to fucking god. With her abilities as a half Qilin and almost as... That is hard to say. And almost as archery skills, they had managed to stand against with an almost as...
Let's see if that might work.
A half Qilin and almost as archery skills, they had managed to stand against the hundreds of enemies firing in their direction. They had managed to stand against the hundreds of enemies firing in their direction. Ganyu had taken several arrows to her body, as much as lacerations to her flesh and fractures to her bones, but despite the several wounds, she survived. Amos hadn't been so lucky, however, having lost too much blood from her wounds, despite Ganyu's efforts to protect her from the barrage of attacks aimed at her. It had been a painful day, and having to part with a very meaningful gift she'd now carried for centuries upon centuries stung her heart. However, it was only for a temporary short time, and right now... the world was at stake. Therefore, she allowed Yelan to take her weapon, following with her giving it to the guard. I know that thing's gonna kick on, so I'm not even going to chance it. This again. Kuching was next, unclipping her sword tucked away in its sheath from her left... I can't fucking read. There we go. Kuching was next, unclipping her sword tucked away in its sheath from her left hip. Her weapon carried sentimental value as well, having had it custom made not long after settling down in Liyue Harbor.
Pull that back.
Having had it custom made not long after settling down in Liyue Harbor. She had handpicked the metal to be used for the blade, and had requested the weapon to...
By the way, if you're a Genshin player, I'm not following the lore of these weapons. I am not following the lore of the weapons because it's too much to look into. It's not worth it.
For the blade, and had requested the weapon to carry the might of a lion's roar. The blacksmith, Kunwu,
yeah, I wasn't even going to try it.
Used for the blade, and had requested the weapon to carry the might of a lion's roar. The blacksmith, Kunwu, had... Oh god. The blacksmith, Kunwu, had honored Kuching's one request, had honored Kuching's one request, and had crafted and named the blade Lion's Roar. The end result being a durable, lightweight sword that could withstand over 1,000 strikes to the surface of a diamond. Even to that day, The sword remained light, and the blade didn't have a single chip, dent, or scratch. And the blade didn't have a single chip, dent, or scratch.
I think that
Even its
the first one was fine.
Even its sharpness remained, having never been sharpened ever since the dent or scratch. Even its sharpness remained, having never been sharpened ever since the day of its forgery. Dent or scratch. Even its sharpness remained, having dent or scratch. Even its sharpness.
Okay, you get that out.
Scratch. Even its sharpness remained, having never been sharpened ever since the day of its forgery. Parting with it made her feel unbalanced, but there were bigger things at risk, so she swallowed her emotions and allowed Yelan to take Lion's Roar from her grasp. Yelan was last to part with her weapon, gripping her bow, Aqua Simulacra, and handing it over to the guard. Parting with her weapon was the equivalent of tearing her heart in two, the weapon having been made. Oh my fucking god. The weapon having been a.
Don't ask me why I got tripped up on this line, but I did.
The weapon having been a gift from one of her dearest friends she had tragically lost during a mission that had gone wrong. It had been customly forged and carried special properties that allowed Yelan to infuse it with the energy her vision granted her while preparing a shot.
See if that might work.
It had been customly forged and carried special
Oh my god, these fucking breaths. See if that might work.
Had been customly forged and carried special properties that allowed Yelan to infuse it with the energy her vision granted her while preparing a shot. Been customly forged and carried special properties that allowed Yelan to infuse it with the energy her vision granted her while preparing a shot. Been customly forged and carried special properties that allowed Yelan to infuse it with the energy her vision granted her while preparing a shot.
That's fine.
It had gotten her through several
Bring that back.
It had gotten her through several scuffles, including the time she had spent wandering around prior to Ganyu finding her. She managed to defeat any threats that crossed her path with ease, and had even provided herself with meat from animals she'd shot and killed with Aqua Simulacra.
Bring that back.
And had even provided herself with meat from animals she'd shot and killed with Aqua Simulacra. Less to say, it had been her tool for survival and had gotten her by, so to give it away to a stranger was very hard. However, like Ganyu and Kuchink, she knew the bigger factors at play, so she just ripped off the band-aid and gave the guard her only remnant of one of her past comrades. With their hearts torn and pride stained, the guard nodded his head and allowed them to the shores of the island. And the guard nodded his head and allowed them to the shores of the island.
Okay, I gotta make sure I got that.
And allowed them to the shores of the. The guard nodded his head and allowed them to the shores of the island.
What's that? I think I could just take that out.
The guard nodded his head and allowed them to the shores of the island. And allowed them to the shores of the island.
That's fine.
Follow me. Follow me.
Need to do something like this. So about right there.
Follow me, and I'll take you to the Divine Priestess, he commanded. All three of them nodded in agreement and followed the guard from the sandy shores deeper.
About right there.
All three of them nodded in agreement and followed the guard from the sandy shores deeper into the island. They followed a main dirt path that came to They followed a main dirt path that came to a wooden bridge, eventually leading them to a small village that was occupied by only very few people. From there, they came to the site of the island center, the view being a beautiful array of colors and waterfalls. Off in the distance, the site of a single structure came, appearing as a stack of gargantuan clam.
Okay, let's get this correct.
Off in the distance, the sight of a single structure came, appearing as a stack of gargantuan clamshells that led to the...
Goes something like that.
Off in the distance, the sight of a single structure came, appearing as a stack of gargantuan clamshells that led to the main place atop the peaks of the inner island center.
Bring that back.
Gargantuan clamshells that led to the main place atop the peaks of the inner island center. They crossed another 2 bridges, coming to the peak they all had spotted before, and after traversing up to the top, met the very building that appeared as a shrine. It was a gorgeous and massive structure, definitely befitting for one with the title of Divine Priestess. The display was so mesmerizing that they hadn't realized the practical guide had come to a stop just before the staircase that led to the main building of the entire mass. No. The display was so mesmerizing that they hadn't realized the practical guide had come to a stop just before the staircase that led to the main building of the entire mass, causing Yelan to accidentally bump into the guard. He paid it no mind, though, and remained steady as if nothing had even happened, turning to address them further on the task at hand.
Okay.
Please wait here. Please wait here. He directed. I'll go retrieve...
No, I like this, please.
Please wait here. No, please wait here. He directed.
About right there.
He directed. I'll go and retrieve the divine priestess for you. I shouldn't be too long. Do what you gotta do. Yelan answered. We'll just admire the view until you get back. The guard nodded, then turned to the shrine and disappeared upon entering the main building. The 3 girls didn't really have much to say during their wait, too captivated by the several perspectives surrounding their current position. It was on par with what you'd expect to be the abode of a god. Dazzling spectacles and flourishing panoramas everywhere they looked and admired. It carried a sense of peace and harmony unlike any other, causing them all to just fall into a trance of numb bliss. Up until they were interrupted by the sound of the guard yet again, turning to see said person, accompanied by a lady that resembled a mermaid. She was an average height, skinny, and her blondish pink hair was tied up into a ponytail, and her blondish pink hair was tied up into a ponytail, extending down to past her waist. Her eyes were mystical, being a mix of blue and purple, and her attire seemed to mimic a mermaid's body. It fit the atmosphere of the entire scenery perfectly, along with the fact that it fit her title amazingly well. "These are the people that asked for your acquaintance, Miss Priestess," he explained with a gesture of his hand, waving it out towards the three. The majestic priestess.
Describing Kokomi was hard.
The majestic priestess merely nodded her head with a smile, clearly sensing no malice from any of them. Greetings. She greeted. Greetings. She greeted. Her voice soft yet authoritative. She walked out towards them, wanting to present herself with a proper welcome. My name is Sangonomiya Kokomi. It's a pleasure to welcome you all to the Sangonomiya Shrine. The pleasure is ours, Miss Kokomi. Yelan followed.
Hold that back a little bit.
The pleasure is ours, Miss Kokomi. Sangonomiya Shrine. The pleasure is ours, Miss Kokomi. Yelan followed. My name is Yelan, and these two are Ganyu and Kuching. We are all former officials of Liwei's government.
Hold that back.
We are all former officials of Liwei's government. Interesting. Kokomi answered rather simply. You all have come so far, so please address why you've requested this meeting.
What the fuck?
You all have come so far, so please address why you've requested this meeting. Of course, Yelan replied. However, it's probably best if you just read this.
I need to moisturize my mouth, man. Dry lips. Just another part of being a narrator, dealing with mouth noise.
Yelan handed out the letter that A had given her, to which Kokomi accepted with care, unfolding and looking over every single line of text with full focus. It didn't take her long to catch on, lowering the letter from her eyes and rolling it back up neatly. Come with me, she commanded. No. Come with me, she commanded, her voice tone Come with me, she commanded, her voice tone having changed to something more serious and stern.
Get that out of there.
She commanded, her voice tone having changed to something more serious and stern. Nobody spoke, following her command, and
Let's get that out.
Nobody spoke, following her command and moving to wherever she planned to take them for likely safe talk out of the ears of potential threats. Kokomi led them into the shrine, into a secluded room that resembled a meeting place for people like generals. Just from its current state, Yelan, Kuching, and Ganyu could all tell it hadn't been used for years, which made it less likely to be suspected of any potential threats disguised in plain sight. Please, take a seat, Kokomi offered. The three didn't argue and just took a seat in one of the many available ones.
Yep, I got that out.
The three didn't argue and just took a seat in one of the many available ones. Once they were all properly seated, Kokomi seated herself across from them, her demeanor surprisingly calm.
What the hell is that?
First, I'm dreadfully sorry for all that has happened to you three. First, I'm dreadfully sorry for all that has happened to you three. She comforted. It must have been terrible to suddenly lose your home in the blink of an eye. Thank you for your words. Oh, thank you for your words, Miss Kokomi. Thank you for your words, Miss Kokomi. Thank you for your words, Miss Kokomi. Kuching stated, "It's been hard, but we found ways around. No, but we found ways to rebound. Hence why we're all here. Hence why we're here. Thank you, but we found ways to rebound. Hence why we're all here. Hence why we're here. Hence why we're here." Kokomi nodded, sighing before speaking.
Yeah, that sounded like an annoyed sigh.
Watatsumi Island has had its bouts with the Raiden Shogun in the past. No, Watatsumi Island has had its bouts with the Raiden Shogun in the past. Watatsumi Island has had its bouts with the Raiden Shogun in the past. And while some may still carry hatred for her, this is a situation that I don't think we can let feelings get in the way of. This is a situation that I don't think we can let feelings get in the way of. Therefore, I'm willing to help in any way I can. But I need to know the full extent of this crisis to understand what I need to do.
Okay.
A breath of relief escaped all three of them, having
Okay, pull it back.
understand what I need to do. A breath of relief
Oh, way too close. About right there.
what I need to do. A breath of relief escaped all three of them, having expected this to go so easy. Having not expected this to go so easy. However, it wasn't done yet. However, it wasn't done yet. So Yelam moved to explaining everything they knew about the situation. Well, it started with 3. But the truth is that we're up against. But the truth is. But the truth is. But the truth is that we're up against. Fucking dick! But the truth is that we're up against. But the truth is that we're. No. But the truth is that we're up against. But the truth is that we're up against up to hundreds or thousands of androids that look like any ordinary human being. Yelan started. These androids are capable of. These androids are capable of absorbing elemental energy created from visions, and can use it as a weapon in rebound. Miss Ganyu herself.
Well, there's a burp. Oh lord. The hell is that?
Miss Ganyu witnessed this herself, having saw the Tianquan, Liwei's ruler, be killed in a having saw the Tianquan, Liwei's ruler, be killed in a horrible way. Miss Kuching was also.
The hell was that? That right there.
Horrible way. Miss Kuching was also injured terribly by another. No, fuck me! Miss Kuching was also injured terribly by another one of these things, having only managed to escape death by a hair's width. However, there's one fortunate thing in this entire. Escape death by a hair's width. However, there's one fortunate thing in this entire endeavor. The army of androids that the Saritsa is producing isn't done yet, so we still have time before the worst case scenario can occur. Gotta wait for that, shut up.
Not sure what's next.
Scenario can occur.
Is it just line?
I see. I see. Kokomi.
That back. Way too far.
Right there. The worst case scenario can occur. I see. Kokomi answered. Anything else? Yes. These androids are being powered by the elemental energy of the Geo-Archon Rex Lapis.
Control C. Control V. Something like that.
Anything else? Yes. These androids are being powered by the elemental energy of the Geo-Archon Rex Lapis. Hence the Guardians of Leeway, the Adepti. Ancient beings with power...
Get that out.
On Rex Lapis. Hence the Guardians of Leeway, the Adepti. Ancient beings with power...
Oh, oops.
Ancient beings with power potent enough to... No. Ancient beings with power potent enough to end the world. Leeway, the Adepti. Ancient beings with power potent enough to end the world. It's why these androids are capable of Leeway, the Adepti. Ancient beings with power potent enough to end the world.
Nope.
It's why these androids are capable of It's why these androids are It's why these androids are capable in... It's why these androids are capable of inhuman abilities. That's the reason why we informed your Archon first. That's the reason why we informed your Archon first. That's the reason why we informed your Archon capable of inhuman abilities. That's the reason why we informed your Archon first. She could be in danger. She could be in danger. She could be in danger. Alright. Thank you, Miss Nate. Alright. Thank you, Miss Yelan. No. Alright. Thank you, Miss Yelan.
That just sounds like coaching.
Alright. Thank you, Miss Yelan. Kokomi said, putting a hand to her chin. The way I see it is that we are on a very thin time window to get the advantage. And unless we get the advantage, it's basically the end of the world. Correct. Yelan confirmed. The end of the world. Correct. Yelan confirmed. The world. Correct. Yelan confirmed. Kokomi sighed, coming to full realization of just what she was about to jump into. No. Coming to full realization of just what she was about to jump into. Coming to full realization of just what she was about. Coming to full realization of just what she was about to jump into. Okay, the first thing I see as an... Okay, the first thing I see as an advantage... Okay, the first thing I see as an advantage is to find some way to counter these... Okay, the first thing I see as an advantage is to find some way to counter these androids' capabilities. Weakening the enemy makes it much easier to destroy. Weakening the enemy makes it much easier to destroy them. And with this solution, we wouldn't need to battle every single android at their max potential. The idea surprised all three of them. It was a solid counter to the issue. If at their max potential. The idea surprised all three of them. It was a solid counter to the issue. If they could slow down or weaken their enemies, it would make taking them out easier. It would make taking them out easier. However, one problem remained with that idea. What counters the elemental energy of the divine? Problem remained with that idea. What counters the elemental energy of the divine? With that idea. What counters the elemental energy of the divine? Do you have any idea on what could possibly do that, Miss Kokomi? Yelan questioned. Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. But if there's one thing I've learned as a strategist, it's that sometimes solutions aren't as direct as they may seem to be. Sometimes the solution to something that seems impossible.
I don't know what was going on with my voice here, but yeah.
Sometimes the solution to something that seems impossible can be practical in nature. Yelan caught exactly what she was saying. The formula to counter a god's power didn't need to be something complicated, but something more simple and effective. The formula to counter a god's power didn't need to be something complicated, but something more simple and effective. Then Yelan remembered something. The day they caught Reshov. The day they caught Reshov. The day they caught Reshov. I've got it, Yelan stated, turning to Ganyu and Kuching. Girls, do you remember how we caught Reshov? Girls, do you remember how we caught Reshov? Girls, do you remember how we caught Reshov? Kuching and Ganyu were confused, up until they connected the dots and answered. Lisa's spell! Lisa's spell!
Okay, grab that. Control C. I need a track. Add new mono. Okay, I gotta get this right on point. Like right there.
Lisa's spell!
Ah, shit. About right there. Let's get about right here. About right there.
Lisa's spell!
Nope.
Lisa's spell!
Okay, I gotta get this into another spot. Control C, delete. Like about right there.
Lisa's spell! Spell! Lisa's spell!
Oh, you son of a beanbag.
Lisa's spell! Kuching and Ganyu confirmed in unison.
That's why that had to be that way. But I know one thing I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to turn the volume down a lot.
Lisa's spell! Kuching and Ganyu confirmed in unison. Yelan nodded, then turned back to Kokomi across from her.
Pull that back.
Yelan nodded, then turned back to Kokomi across from her. Forgive me for the sudden exclamation, but I have a solution that is guaranteed to work. Yelan stated. You do? Please, feel free to explain. Kokomi allowed. Thank you. You do? Please, feel free to explain. Kokomi allowed. Thank you. Now, in our journey getting here, we had to catch the very android responsible for the Tianquan's death in a trap. We had to catch the very android responsible for the Tianquan's death in a trap. This all occurred in You do. We had to catch the very android responsible for the Tianquan's death in a trap. This all occurred in Mondstadt. This all occurred in Mondstadt, during which we subdued the machine by use of a very nasty spell that the city's librarian mage, Lisa, cast on the doorknobs of the entrance to the building we had lured him into. Upon touching the doorknob, he was infused with the spell's potency, and as a result, he fell unconscious. That's our counter to the power of those machines. A nasty dose of whatever Lisa cast that day. Kokomi's eyes brightened. Kokomi's eyes brightened. I'm gonna kill the fucking... One crucial factor had been... Kokomi's eyes brightened. Kokomi's eyes brightened. I'm gonna kill the fucking cough. Kokomi's eyes brightened. Okay,
I can get that out, I think.
Kokomi's eyes brightened. I'm gonna kill the fucking cough. One crucial factor had been solved. Did I fucking get that right? No. Kokomi's eyes brightened. Are you serious right now? One crucial factor had been solved, but the task remained of finding out what kind of hex Lisa had conjured to submit Reshov to the floor like a rock sinking in water. That's great to hear. That's great to hear. But do you have any idea what this Lisa cast to cause this? Yelan shook her head. Not exactly, but we do know that it was an uncommon spell that takes lots of physical energy and strength to cast in a large amount. To get a straight answer, we'd need to ask Lisa ourselves. We don't have that amount of time.
Get that out.
Ourselves. We don't have that. Lisa ourselves. We don't have that amount of time, and I'm sure Lisa ourselves. We don't have that amount of time, and I'm sure you all are on the same.
Nope. Right there-ish.
Ask Lisa ourselves. We don't have that amount of time, and I'm sure you all are on the same page as me about that issue. Yelan nodded, fully aware that traveling to Mondstadt would take at least 3 days to do. They were on a time clock and couldn't afford to waste any more time than they already had. The fate of Tevat was at risk. Kokomi continued upon confirmation that they were all thinking on the same level. Good. Therefore, we have to find a way to recreate that hex that subdued the first enemy you encountered, and from how you explained it, it seemed to be nothing more than a very powerful surge of electricity that managed the task. Therefore, I believe all we need is some kind of weapon that can inflict a very powerful electrocution to its target. Yelan nodded in agreement, having thought the same outcome. But there was much to consider in this situation. Kokomi had caught on fast. So, what can inflict a shock? With the same amount of strength as that spell? And more importantly, how much electricity did that spell exactly exhume? Again, more obstacles than a solution.
Get that out.
Exactly exhume. Again, more obstacles than a solution. They were getting nowhere in this meeting, meaning that the time that Yelan, Kuching, and Ganyu... Meaning that the time that Yelan, Kuching, and Ganyu had all feared had come. Yelan. Had come. Kuching and Ganyu had all feared had come. Yelan. The way I see it, there's only one way we can find these answers to properly get an advantage against the Tsaritsa. Yelan spoke. We can't blindly guess at the risk of it not working. Otherwise, we've already...
Okay, no, otherwise I've already...
Otherwise, we've already lost before the battle even had... Otherwise, we've already lost before the battle even had a chance to start. These fucking lips are a fucking pain in my ass right now. Otherwise, we've already lost the battle before it even had a chance to start. Risk of it not working. Otherwise, we've already lost the battle before it even had a chance to start. What are you suggesting? Kuching chimed in, fearing she already knew the answer. We need to split up. Yelan answered with a heavy sigh. There's no way we can do this. There's no way we can do this with all of us just in... There's no way we can do this with all of us just in one... There's no way we can do this with all of us... There's no way we can do this with all of us in one place. It'll just cost precious time that we don't... It'll just cost precious time that we don't have. So the only option is for... It'll just cost... All of us in one place. It'll just cost precious time that we don't have. So the only option is for... So the only option is for one of us to go back to Mondstadt to get the answers we need. So the only option is for one of us to go back to Mondstadt to get the answers we need. Ganyu and Kuching both didn't like the answer. Ganyu and Kuching both didn't like the answer, but they also were aware that Yelan was correct on the matter. Splitting up was the best way for them to cover more ground and get more done than they would traveling together. It was terrifying for them to go separate ways, but it had to be done to have a chance at victory. Terrifying for them to go separate ways, but it had to be done to have a chance of victory. Kuching sighed before answering. I can agree as well. It's a huge risk, but...
Wait, what?
Kuching sighed before answering. I can agree as well. It's a huge risk, but we can't just take blind guesses and risk.
I need to see. Wait a minute, what? Did I just completely miss a line? I think I completely just missed a line. I completely missed a line. Fucking hell, me. I completely missed a damn line.
I can agree as well.
I just completely dumbfoundedly missed a line. So I'm gonna have to wait for that to shut up first. Okay, let me just do what I did. Tracks, edit. I need labels. And we're just gonna continue forward.
It's a huge risk, but we can't just take blind guesses and risk failure when the time comes in battle. Huge risk, but we can't just take blind guesses and risk failure when the time comes in battle. I've seen too many friends and allies die over assuming they had enough strength or power. Fuck you, Ganyu. Fuck. I've seen too many friends and allies die over assuming they had enough strength or power to beat an enemy. And I'd rather not see more blood of the dear people I love fall on the battlefield. If you don't shut that fucking cough up. And I'd rather not see more blood of the dear people I love fall on the battlefield.
I like that second take better.
And I'd rather not see more blood of the dear people I love fall on the battlefield. Yelan nodded again, turning her attention back to Kokomi. I assume you agree as well, Miss Kokomi? I assume you agree as well, Miss Kokomi? Yelan questioned.
Oh, Lord.
I assume you agree as well, Miss Kokomi? Yelan questioned. Yelan questioned. Affirmative, Miss... Affirmative, Miss... Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative, Miss Yelan. Kokomi answered with... I assume you agree as well, Miss Kokomi? Yelan questioned. Affirmative, Miss Yelan. Kokomi answered with confidence. Kokomi answered with confidence. Given this crisis involves all of... Kokomi answered with confidence. Given this crisis involves all of Tevat, I agree that the best course of action is to cover more ground to advance our plans. Excellent. Yelan answered. Then, considering I'm faster and the Fatui sources in Mondstadt won't... Excellent. Yelan answered. Then, considering I'm faster and the Fatui sources in Mondstadt won't suspect me as a threat, I'll take the trip back. You girls will stay in Inazuma and continue to make progress and protect the Raiden Shogun with all of your strength. Ganyu and Kuching didn't agree, knowing that Yelan...
Gotta get that out.
All of your strength. Ganyu and Kuching did...
We finally to a point of where I can actually do stuff? Okay, good. Gotta be quick, though.
Okay, where am I? Okay, coaching line. You're right. While it is a huge risk to split up, it's the best Oh my god. You're right. While it is a huge risk to split up, it's the best option in our current situation. Therefore, I'm in agreement that we should separate for now.
There. I need effect, noise reduction, get noise profile. Oh, god damn it. Okay, well, at least I don't need that little section right there.
You're right. While it is a huge risk to split up, it's the best option in our current situation. Therefore, I'm in agreement that we should...
Oh, I forgot there's another part to that line that I missed. I swear to God. Okay.
I can agree as well. It's a huge risk, but we can't just take blind guesses and risk...
Okay. Control V. Remove. I need to put something at the end of that. Okay, how far does this go?
You're right. While it is a huge risk to split up, it's the best option in our current situation. Therefore, I'm in agreement that we should separate for now.
Okay. Right here, I need to add something. Then I need to kind of space it. I need to be quick because the heater's kicking on.
Alright. Ganyu nodded with no argument.
That's all I needed. Stop! Sorry, guys. Control C. Control V. That should be good. Actually, no, I need to go something like this. Control C. Control V. A few times I need to do it. Actually, what I need to do is just something like this. Just get this enough room. That might work.
Agreement that we should separate for now. Ganyu nodded with no argument.
Okay.
I can agree as well.
Yep. Oh, right. I need to go right there. Is that better?
Ganyu nodded with no argument. I can agree as well. It's a huge risk, but we can't just take blind guesses and risk failure when the time comes in battle. I've seen too many friends and allies die over assuming they had enough strength or power to beat an enemy. And I'd rather not see more blood of the dear people I love fall on the battlefield. Yelan nodded again, turning her attention back to Kokomi. I assume you agree as well, Miss Kokomi? Yelan questioned.
Can I please delete the stupid track? Fuck.
As well, Miss Kokomi? Yelan as well, Miss Kokomi? Yelan questioned. Affirmative, Miss Yelan. Kokomi answered with confidence. Given this crisis involves all of Teyvat, I agree that the best course of action is to cover more ground to advance our plans.
Gotta get rid of that, because that'll get stuck in the noise gate.
With confidence. Given this crisis involves all of Teyvat, I agree that the best course of action is to cover more ground to advance our plans. Excellent. Yelan answered. Then, considering I'm faster and the Fatui sources in Mondstadt won't suspect me as a threat, I'll take the trip back. You girls will stay in Inazuma and continue to make progress and protect the Raiden Shogun with all of your strength. Ganyu and Kuching didn't agree, knowing that Yelan was... argue. Ganyu and Kuching didn't argue.
Pull that back.
Ganyu and Kuching didn't argue, knowing that Yelan was definitely the best of them to go back. She could travel fastest across land and evade any Fatui that may suspect her easily. There was no reason to debate or question it. There was no reason to debate or question it.
See if that might work.
There was no reason to debate or question it. I have no objections to that, no. I have no objections to that. That may suspect her easily. There was no reason to debate or question it. I have no objections to that. Kuching agreed. Me neither. Ganyu added. Good.
What is that? That is what I need to get out.
Kuching agreed. Me neither. Ganyu added. Good. Now, back to other matters. Yeah, Kuch...
Get that out. That's gonna get caught.
Good. Now, back to other matters. Yelan finished, allowing Kokomi to speak on any further actions or plans. Of course. No. Of course. Kokomi followed. Now, the bigger issue. Of course.
Nope. Need to do this. About right there-ish.
Of course. Kokomi followed. Now, the bigger issue. Now, the bigger issue. Getting my people to agree to the whole thing. Are you serious right now? Now, the bigger issue. Getting my people to agree to the whole thing. Are you serious right now? Getting my people to agree to this whole thing. Ever since the Shogun separated Watatsumi Island from the others, all of the citizens of Watatsumi have had a grudge and heavy hatred for her. Getting them to agree to helping her? No. Getting them to helping...
I knew it was after the cuss.
Getting them to agree to helping protect her and Narukami Island from these threats is the equivalent of getting ice to befriend fire. But once it's clear that
Hey, Rider Storm. Oh, I missed one of Dawn's. I'm doing pretty good. Just what you'd expect me to be like when I'm editing.
Of getting ice to befriend fire. But once it's clear that it's either protecting her or their lives, they'll come to reason, right? Kuching stated. Surely they wouldn't choose death over life. Kokomi sighed heavily. The answer to that is a mixed bag. Kokomi answered. For some, yes, but for others, even hatred can root deep enough to die over it. That wasn't the answer any of them had been expecting.
I've already tested it. Yep, that can be taken out, so it's fine.
That wasn't the answer any of them had been expecting.
Hold that back.
That wasn't the answer any of them had been expecting.
Nice.
It was a sad and dark one, but at the end of the day, the fact remained that it was their choice. It was silent for a long minute, until it was broken by Kuching's voice. Then, I suppose all we can do is try. After all, in the end, their choice is theirs to decide. Kokomi didn't even flinch, knowing full well that Kuching's statement was knowing full well that Kuching's statement was the inevitable conclusion, and exactly...
Hang on, I gotta get in here a little bit more. About right here.
Knowing full well that Kuching's statement was the inevitable conclusion, and Kokomi didn't even flinch, knowing full well that Kuching's statement was the inevitable conclusion. Kokomi didn't even flinch, knowing full well that Kuching's statement was the inevitable conclusion, and knowing full well that Kuching's statement was the inevitable conclusion, and exactly what was to come in short time. Knowing full well that Kuching's statement was the inevitable conclusion, and even flinch, knowing full well that Kuching's statement was the inevitable conclusion, and exactly what was to come in short time. Affirmative. Conclusion, and exactly what was to come in short time. Affirmative. Shaking a person's will isn't easy, but I'll do my best to persuade them.
Hold that back.
Shaking a person's will isn't easy, but I'll do my best to persuade them. They won't think I'm lying, so at least that factor isn't a potential obstacle. However, their choice to fight or die will be theirs alone. Kokomi sighed again, dreading the coming hours, but if she wanted to save her home and the entire world, she'd have to suffer potentially a few losses as a price to pay. With that, this meeting is adjourned. Please give me some time to write a proper shake.
Yep, get that out.
With that, this meeting is adjourned. Please give me some time to write a proper speech for my people to hear. Until then, it's probably best you all head back to Narukami Island to inform the Shogun of the new plans. I sincerely wish you all a safe trip back, and a safe journey to Mondstadt for Miss Yelan. Thank you, Miss Kokomi. Yelan thanked, bowing as an additional gesture. I'll do my best to get my mission done as fast. Bowing as an additional gesture. I'll do my best to get my mission done as fast as possible. Kokomi bowed in return, concluding the meeting. Watatsumi Island thanks you for all you've done, Kokomi gracefully stated. Watatsumi Island thanks you for all you've done, Kokomi gracefully stated. Please, be safe, and may the gods grant you safety in your endeavors. Ganyu, Kuching, and Yelan all bowed in return as they got up from their seats and walked back to the shrine, bracing themselves for whatever was to come next in their journey for retribution. For Liyue Harbor. Upon meeting the outside of the shrine, a sudden noise that matched that of the crack of lightning.
Right there, I'd say.
Upon meeting the outside of the shrine, a sudden noise that matched that of the crack of lightning made them all jump in surprise. It echoed for a long moment, followed by the accompaniment of a sight of a dome forming over the entirety of all of Inazuma's islands.
Okay, gotta get the part correct. Right there.
For a long moment, followed by the accompaniment of a sight of a dome forming over the entirety of all of Inazuma.
Get that out.
Moment, followed by the accompaniment of a sight of a dome forming over the entirety of all.
Excuse me.
Followed by the accompaniment of a sight of a dome forming over the entirety of all of Inazuma's islands. That meant that Raiden A and Yae Miko had initiated the plan, and the battle to protect Inazuma from destruction had officially begun. Something that all three of them knew as they walked. Something all three of them knew as they moved forward back to the shores of Watatsumi Island.
Nice. Okay, that's done. But I do need to mix. Okay, I need to get a timestamp. Where is it? There it is. Alright, I need to make sure this is correct still.
With the spell! With the spell! With the spell!
Yeah, that needs to go down a little bit, so I need to get a timestamp. About... Ooh, right before 17 minutes. Phone! Oh, Doc's was what I needed. So, 16:59. Not 58. 59. Alright. Now let's just export. And pray to God everything is goo, because I don't want to do that all over again. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to do this. Save. There. Now all of our progress isn't lost. Okay, so wait for... Did you just someone call me the Don? I guess I'm an Eldritch for... No. I said, hey, Don. Oh. Yeah, getting something new is always exciting, isn't it? Trust me, I was like that when I was getting my mic and all that stuff as well. My current setup. Because you know how the mill can be sometimes. Especially in this day and age. Can't rely on anybody to do fucking shit anymore. Excuse me. Okay. Now what I need to do is I need to Control A, delete, and then import the new file. And I need to lower the one line because it's a little noisy. Oh, I'm just gonna do this. TBOIAL. There 20. That one. It's been a while. Not gonna lie, I haven't watched Pony in a long while. In fact, the last show that I watched was Demon Slayer. Damn good show, actually. Only character that I really wish didn't exist is the yellow-haired dude. I really don't care for his character. Okay, I need to go to 1658. Or 59, excuse me. Where are you hiding? Right here.
Release the spell!
How loud is that?
Release the spell!
Yeah, it's a little noisy. So I need to turn down... Let's try -2.
Release the spell!
That's better. Okay, now for realsies. That's why I put it in all caps. It sticks out more, I guess. What's your channel? Might be willing to give it a look. Because after this, I'm going to take a mini break. Don't put a link in the chat because it won't go through. Oh, it's Shasta root beer. In my opinion, the best root beer you can get right now, honestly.
Maybe. Okay, it did come up easy. That's good. Saddle up sunset. Okay, let's go upload this to the drive. Need to put this in minimize so I can see what's going on in the chat. Alright, let's see what we got going on here. Mug's not bad, it's just not what it used to be, honestly. My reaction right there to the finale. Holy crap. Strong reaction. Oh good, it already did the thing. It's like Coca-Cola used to be good. Not anymore. Even Pepsi's kind of lost its touch. Okay. I need to shut this up. Oh shit, I can't hear. There we go.
Read to you by Storm Penke. Chapter 1. The Heat Wave. Bells sounded loudly, echoing through the halls of Candlewood High, a signaling that every student looked forward to, the end of the school day and a school week. At long last, it was Friday. Students cheered as they hurried and gathered their books and bags. They charged the door, nearly...
The Discord notification that killed me. It's okay.
plowing through a teacher who had just narrowly missed a stampede at the door for them.
Uh-oh.
Something Shimmer sighed
Little
contentedly
stumble
as
there.
she dropped the last of her books into her backpack. It was a satisfying feeling.
Also, if I say something, it's not me being an asshole, it's me just spotting what could be improved. Like, I'm going constructive criticism. I'm not going, like, Simon Cowell, like, oh, this is terrible, like that.
Ending the week of such a high note, and a high note it was. Sherry passed her two tests that week.
The hell was that all about?
Shimmer sighed contentedly as she dropped the last of her books into her backpack. It was a satisfying feeling, ending the week of such a high note, and a high note it was. Sherry passed her two tests that week, and marked the end of the grading period. Are you ready to shoot a cube? It was a familiar voice that Sunset knew very well. One that was saturated in patriotism and country grit. Sunset looked over her shoulder and to find Applejack and Rainbow Dash standing behind her. A large grin formed along her lips as she hoisted her backpack onto her shoulders. You know it. Let's get out of here. The stress of Sunset's week lifted off her shoulders in an instant, and let out a light chuckle.
Okay. 1 point of criticism. Editing. You need to edit. Like those stumbles, you need to take out. Because 1, it shortens the time frame, and 2, it just is more professional. Your sound environment is actually really nice. My quality actually doesn't sound bad either, honestly. Yeah, but bloopers shouldn't be included in the main content. They should be put off to the side. That's what I mean. You should separate those. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm taking out all my freaking bloops and shit like that. Because that's how it should be. People, when they listen to an audio reading, they want to hear the whole thing. Not like you stumbling and messing up. Excuse me. Just more professionalism. Professionalism equals a good amount of views. Like the first time I ever made a fuck up in a final product, you can't even hear it. Honestly, you can't even hear it because it's so subtle and it doesn't really it really kind of fits with the tonality inside of the recording. Like I'll show you in just a second. But your environment sounds nice. Your voice sounds nice. I think your voice acting could use a lot more work, but like don't just read it, act it. Like, what was the first line? Are you coming, sugar cube, or something? Are you coming, sugar cube? You know, add some emphasis to it. Give it some good stuff. Like you need to add the acting into the voice acting, and use different voices for the characters. Like, it's hard. I know it's hard, but you got to come up with a voice so that people can differentiate the characters. Like one thing that, like for the main six for me, Twilight's up in the nasal cavity because she kind of has a nasally tone to her. Applejack's just a southern voice. It's easy. Fluttershy's just a whispery character like Ganyu. Rainbow Dash is something. Yeah, man, it's Rainbow Dash for you. Don't hurt to actually do that voice. What am I missing? Rarity. Oh, Rarity's just posh and very fancy like darling. And, did I miss anybody? Oh, Pinkie Pie, That's why I, like, try to avoid stories with Pinkie in it. Like, you know, Pinkie is just the exact opposite of me. Like, she is hyper up in the night, just straight up crazy. But that's what I mean. You gotta separate the characters. You've got to get rid of all those mistakes. I know it's a lot of time. It's a lot of editing. But trust me, it's worth it in the end. Like the first time I ever made a mistake in the end product was... It was this one right here. Rarity Part 1 Sparrow. I don't even remember where the hell it was. Like right at the beginning too. I just don't remember exactly where it was. But it's in this one. This is way back. Well, still a baby. I'm just learning the ropes.
It had come to this.
Christ, that is
loud.
loud.
It may have been a shock. She could easily say she hadn't seen it coming. Restrained like so many times before, Rarity found herself this time restrained.
That is loud. Like, that is loud in my ears. I'm on monitoring right now. If I turn the monitoring off, I'm at full volume.
Drained in an honest to Celestia dungeon. Celestia's dungeon, in particular, to put that extra bit of insult on it. While she hadn't seen this coming, she understood why she was here. She had done things, terrible things. She had never intended to harm anyone, aside from herself just a bit. But her actions had put her...
Like, it's not terrible. It's really not terrible. It's just... Yeah. I'm much better now. Like, yeah, these older ones, I just don't remember what the fuck it was. Yeah, it's loud. The music is very loud in my ears.
In the sights of the law. And now,
the sights of the law.
She would have to answer for her crimes.
And now she would have to
Perhaps she could have blamed Sweetie Belle for having somehow divulged the information over to the equestrian guards, but she couldn't hold her beloved sister accountable. Rarity had made her a victim in this too. And
please tell me I fix this later on. Come on, me. You can do this. I changed my intro by that time. So, that's fucking loud still. Nope, it's the same volume.
They didn't travel far before Rarity was confronted by yet...
Hang on. Oh, there's a drastic difference in that. Huge drastic difference. Did I change mics or anything here? No, my first reading with the snowball was... Oh, God.
Can't Stand to, not Can't Stand to Be Apart. It's the sequel to that. Cutie Mark's True Meaning. Meaning, not meeting. Stupid.
Another strange sight. Between two of the homes on the street, just visible by the light of the lanterns, was Pinkamena once again.
It doesn't sound that
She was
bad.
laying upon the ground and looked right out into the street where her and Blue Blood were
For something that
walking.
looks like a McDonald's headset.
She stopped suddenly,
Yeah.
and the doll was once again dragged away by an unseen individual. Rarity spoke up, but tried to keep her voice a whisper.
When was this? That was 2017. So this was not early by any means. That was a year. I was a year into this. So, yeah, I think the music was a little better on volume, but yeah. This is back when I still had mediocre editing and all that shit. Like, it just, yeah. Oh, I see where they're going with the third Descender now. But, yeah, the first ever thing, I accidentally left two of the same word in, but you cannot tell it's there. Like, it could have been in that little patch right there, and you still wouldn't know. But it was an accident. It happens. That's why I double check my shit anymore to make sure everything is okay. Like the first time I ever got like a really good microphone was this one. Cutie Mark's True Meaning. Can I Jesus criminy. Mark's True Meaning. It's this one. This is when I got my snowball. Dear God, the freaking glare.
Mobile games are going big. Clash Royale is now.
When was this? 6 years ago, my God. Little baby me. And my baby editing skills.
As all ponies know, cutie marks are a symbol that represents you. They can mean multiple things: personality traits, life goals, destinies, talents. But how does one get a cutie mark? Normally, a cutie mark is earned by doing something great, doing something that defines you as you. Such
This
as an artist
sounds
doing their first painting, or a
very
writer publishing their first story.
Up in the
Cutie
like the
marks
high
are usually
end
earned during the ages of 6 to
of the
14.
spectrum.
Rare cases, even being 18 or older. Cutie marks can be predicted more accurately depending on
Yeah,
the race.
this one I did with
Such
the
as
blue
Earth
snowball.
ponies working on farms, Pegasus working
there was
in
the
the weather
one-
industries,
I remember
or
this.
unicorns having a magical talent.
This is the
We
first
know they
one
are a
with
symbol that
the
is
current
unique to a
setup.
pony,
This one.
but we still are unsure of what.
This one. This was a fun story to do too. This was like when I first got this set up.
Are they keeping you up at night? No, it's.
Like you can tell, it sounds so much more better. Looks a lot more high quality. That's noisy. 3 years ago already? Oh my... Wait, I've had this for 3 years? Shimmy. I can't see anything because of the damn glare. This was without an EQ too. I think all I put on this was, I think just noise reduction, if I remember correct. Yeah, this was a fun story. This one was fun. Okay then. Nice.
Attention all spectators!
I hated this freaking event. Leave me alone.
I'm sorry, Twilight.
Oh yeah.
Written by the Seven Saviors.
Much better.
Chapter 1. I've been having some really weird dreams lately. I set the large mug of coffee I'd been nursing for the last 5 minutes down on the dining room table.
Oh,
and
this
looked
was when
down
I
at
was still
sight.
using Audacity. So that's just a bass boost and noise reduction. Yeah, that's pretty good for what it was. Okay, enough fooling around. Back to... Oh, I was going to take a break anyways. But yeah, that's the one with this mic first. Like, I've experimented all over the place with this mic. I started a process of elimination on the Snowball, then moved to this one. Is that the most recent one? That was 4 years ago. Oh god, when was the last one? I think it's been 2 years? What brand of microphone is it? CIT 2020. Audio Technica 2020 XLR. One of the best mics out there. Dependable. Great sounding. Like my last Pony, nope, that would count as Reborn. This is the first time I actually tried something audiobook related. Like this is where I was trying to just try different things. And this is with the Snowball, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. This is when I started to take things seriously. This is when I started to take things very seriously. When this became my job. Like, this is my occupation. So I've got to really push that to the highest limit it can go. Oh my god. I'm so proud of that intro. I don't use it anymore, but I like it. And this was just a demo to give you a good idea of what's going on. This one was all about experimentation.
Even when you're in a hurry, there's still time for personalized gifts.
Oh my god, I love how you just love to
Personalizationmall.com will help you
interrupt me.
find
A Pony's Tale Equestria's Fall. Written by Sparrow9642.
Why do I sound so low
Part 1.
and like stale?
Chapter 1. The air was as cold as ice. Twilight stood alone in the Canterlot throne room, exhausted from all that she had been through in her fight to save Equestria.
Still doesn't sound bad.
Her friends had all perished in their final stand against Queen Chrysalis and her army of changelings.
This is something I came
Celestia
up
had
with
passed
like a
from a
long
mysterious
time ago.
illness. Luna was missing, and this time, the magic of friendship had failed Twilight in her greatest hour of need. She was alone.
Like someone
And
said it
all
sounded
she
like crap.
had
I'm like,
left-
no it doesn't. It actually sounds pretty good. Like it doesn't sound like I'm in an echo chamber. Anything else? It's all Genshin Impact based. That was one of my favorite readings to do too. An Act of Kindness. That one was really fun. If you're an Apple, no, not an Apple, a Flutter Dash fan, you would like this one. It's sad though. Like this is where I really started to voice the main six. Rhyming in Christmas. Holy osmosis. That is noisy. Yeah, this one was hard to get through.
There's no feeling worse than knowing you have to do something so horrid, but in some demented and twisted nature, it's the right thing to do. It sickened me. But I couldn't let my beloved Fluttershy remain a victim of that monstrosity. I refused to let the one I loved fall victim to something that she couldn't even control. No matter how hard we tried to save her from the darkness that she had been cursed to wander in for the rest of her. I mean, it's life.
these are some of the funnest stories to do because you get
Never
to
before
act.
had I experienced
You don't
such excruciating
narrate.
pain.
You act.
Feeling as if my heart had been shattered to pieces as if it were made of glass. It hurt so much that it had pushed me over the edge, changing me into some pony I wasn't. The element of loyalty had fallen, and
The story that I had the most fun with though was let's see if it just pops up. But yeah, this was a fun one. I love this one. And it's my own story, so makes sense. I started watching reviews around 2020. I believe it was 28 days later. Oh god. Depends on which one it is. If it's Twilight's Transmissions, that makes more sense. Because the first 28 Pranks Later was a long time ago. 28 Pranks Grimdark. This one. The second one. Because there's this one, which was my first Halloween special ever. And then there was this one, which was the sequel to it. I'm actually still proud of it. My friend helped me. Like, people were complaining that you couldn't understand me, but that's
Mobile games are
kinda
going
the
big.
point. It's supposed to sound like it's being played from a tape recorder.
Play the official.
And sometimes you can't tell.
By the time this virus could even affect patient, the blood sample would have already produced a number of cells strong enough to hold off the virus and fight it off. This is strange, because patient is affected, so I'm going to try one more thing to test my theory on why patient is even affected. Just as I had suspected,
If you
I
want to
added more
know what
filling
they're
to
saying,
the
just put on the
containment chamber
freaking
with
thing.
the blood sample, and immediately the virus grew more aggressive, but still managed to only kill a minor amount of cells. The result is how much exposure you have to the virus.
And I've been thinking about making
Exposure
another
is the
piece to
key
this,
word
but
here.
I don't know.
Minor exposure makes the disease fightable if you are not a pony, but dragons have a much higher tolerance against the virus, but only if exposed mildly. Patient might still be able to survive.
Yeah,
if
Savior
he
was a
remains
lot of fun
within
to
a
make.
containment of fresh oxygen.
One of my
I
favorites.
already have a
Easily one of my
possible cure that might
favorites.
help to control the epidemic.
Easily one of my
But
favorites.
before anything can be done,
Because I
Ponyville would have
love
to be quarantined.
Sci-Twi.
And to do that, we need
Or
Canterlot's help. Sending a
Sunlight is what it's called. Like, I loved making this. This was such a fun one to write and to narrate. Because I could go, like, all over the place. I mean, yeah, not to mention, the voice acting really
The stinging
tested me.
and burning feeling coursing throughout her body with each passing second. She knew she wouldn't survive, so she turned her gaze to sunset as a way of saying goodbye. Her eyes starting to leak tears and a smile on her face. She couldn't feel anything anymore by the time Moleskin finished, and she guessed it was something that happened before you died. Moleskin pulled his fangs from Twilight's arm and turned back to Sunset with a grin of victory on his face. And now you have nothing, Shimmer. He mocked. Just like before, you couldn't defeat me. And now, it's cost you more than just pride, but something more.
I love voicing villains.
Moleskin stopped, his demeanor shifting into something more defeated than victorious. He suddenly started to choke
because it
and
was the
gasp
first time I
for
actually
breath in
imported music
desperation,
into, like, my works.
collapsing to his knees and
Like
holding
it says
his
right there,
hand at the
Eternally,
base
Spirit
of
Ice
his
is
throat.
4-2. That is actually a song that I've written.
What is happening to me?
What is happening to me?
He choked out.
Blech.
Even Sunset had no comment, watching the vampire lord falter furthermore. Only until
This is
a
easily
chuckle
one of
from
my favorite
Twilight at the
readings.
cave did it become clear that Twilight had
Oh, maybe it was
somehow tricked
that
him
one,
into assured
going
death.
home.
You got tricked.
And
I
no,
am
I have not
mortal.
ever taken any acting classes.
She muttered out.
Never gone to school, never went to college.
Your own greed led to your demise. 12 hours earlier. You're absolutely sure this'll work? Twilight asked, a small cylindrical tube being presented to her. Sunset's grandmother nodded. What lies in this is centuries of research and gatherings of multiple ancient poisons that are not known of
Everybody
by
thought
many.
that Sunset's grandma was freaking
Back in
Dracula.
the
Or not
1800s,
Dracula, but...
vampires were used like lab monkeys for human remedies. And in those hundreds of years of testing,
What is
the
it?
vampires reacted very negatively to many of the test ingredients to the point of where they died on the spot.
Alright.
I've gathered all that caused such reactions, and I've bundled all of them into a single pill. This is the only one that exists, because many of the things that caused death died with the evolution of history, but to get the ones that still exist are nearly impossible. I am giving you this only as a last resort. Shall it come to where you have no other way to keep my Sonny safe? The poisons will not affect you, only the vampire, and to make it work, you'll have to take it at least 30 minutes prior. This is the most
Not to mention
potent
the
thing
art,
I
the
have,
artist on this. Oh my
so
god.
I expect you
Her
to
art
use
is
it
so
wisely
fucking
and
good.
correctly. Twilight nodded and took the tube from the elderly vampire, placing it in a safe pocket of her jeans. I'll protect her, no matter what it takes,
I don't know what she looks like.
Twilight assured.
That's
I
up to your
promise,
mind.
I won't let this go to waste. Sunset couldn't believe it. Twilight had outsmarted Moleskin by using his own greed against
Okay.
him, but at the cost of protecting her.
I was
and
gonna say,
losing
this has
her
already been
own
fucking
life
2
in the
years. No
process.
way, Jose.
Moleskin continued to choke and beg that the impossible had just happened to him. Being beaten by a mortal was the worst way to die,
I love the track
and
that
he
I
was
chose.
about to die because of that reason, and there was no stopping it. He couldn't speak or object,
Like, when it
starting
comes
to succumb
to-
to the poisons in one devastating.
When it comes to finales, I always put full effort into it. Like, this one was fun because I got to experiment with all sorts of different sound effects and combos and stuff like that. Why is my spacebar not playing the fucking thing?
Climax. His breathing slowed, his choking receded, and in one single collapse, Moleskin fell silent and limp in death.
Then came
battle
this
was
part.
over,
There was a lot of
and
emotional voice
somehow,
acting in this one.
Sunset and Twilight had arisen victorious. However, the cost of victory had been one life, Twilight's life, and Sunset refused to accept it as she dragged herself desperately to Twilight's side, reaching out her hand for Twilight's own. She could already feel her emotions starting to swell.
Like, everybody was so afraid it was
and
going to be
she
like
didn't
Twilight. I'm
care.
like, no.
She loved Twilight
No, we
more
don't
than
got
anything
sparkly
else,
vampires up in
and
here. We
wouldn't
got, like,
leave her side.
ruthless vampires.
As her tears began to escape, a faint but happy voice spoke. Twilight's voice. Hey, we did it. Sunset. Her words were like a whisper. Sunset, while in agonizing pain and her heart shattering slowly, managed to giggle in response. No, you did it. She spoke slowly. Yeah, I did. Sniffles and sobs started to escape Sunset, but she still tried to talk normally. I'm so sorry, Twilight. I should have just held my ground. But I just... Hey, don't blame yourself, Sonny. But
Audacity.
it's because of me that you're here.
Because it seems like you
if
just
I
go like the
just stayed
regular
calm-
like audiobook style. So yeah, Audacity 100% is the best for like, you know, editing out mistakes and shit like that. What I use for like effects and shit like that, effects, EQ, stuff like that, it's FL Studio.
but I use the trial version. So technically, it's free, but it comes without being able to save and stuff like that. Which my PC is normally pretty good at not crashing, but it's just a risk I take.
We could have figured out another way. Her sobs intensified instantly. I was supposed to protect you, but I failed. I let you down. I let you down. And let you get killed. A sudden warmth met Sunset's hand, Twilight's own weakly caressing the top of it. She quickly gripped it tight. The warmth
FL
not
Studio
as
is
warm
great
as
for
usual,
like reverb and stuff
but it
like that.
was
Like if
still
you
warm
wanna
and
create like
still
this, the illusion
Twilight.
that they're in like, you know, echo or something like that. Like if they're in like in a cave or something like that, like this. Yeah, FL Studio is definitely where you want to go because it has really good reverb effects. Because FL Studio isn't normally used for that. It's mainly used for music. So vocal always has like a little bit of reverb on it. But yeah, with the reverb is great in FL Studio.
You did protect me, Sonny, and gave me a life that I would have never had if I'd never met you that night. You protected me so much that it was my turn to protect you once. But your life is more important than mine. You have a life to live, things to see, people to meet. Why protect me when I'm the one that led you to this?
Did I
The
upload
grip
that?
of Twilight's hand suddenly tightened.
Yes, I did. Okay.
Because I love you, Sonny. From that day in the spring to now. And
Not gonna lie, it's tickling my
Almost-
heartstrings a little bit. My own fucking voice acting.
that did it. Sunset found the strength against her body's objection to meet Twilight's lips for the last time. Tears escaping her eyes as she passionately embraced her beloved in near death. The two shared the embrace as one for a long while, up until the embrace broke from Twilight's body falling limp. Her hands gripped with Sunset's fell, and a single breath escaped Twilight's mouth in the sound of a death gasp. Twilight sparkled. Sunset's beloved
Excuse me.
was
Excuse me
gone.
again.
All that followed was tears and sorrow. Sunset's emotions breaking in one whole culmination of unadulterated grief. She cried for what felt like eternity, up until she passed out on Twilight's chest stained with her tears. She didn't know when she passed out, only that she'd lost everything. And in some way, even though he was dead on the cave floor, Moleskin had won.
That is chilling. Like, I'm not doing my own horror here, but this was one of my best written things ever. I've been wanting to do a twice set thing for quite a while. So, yeah, this was pretty good.
Epilogue. A new beginning. Sunset's eyes shot open, waking to the sight of the bedroom of her grandmother's house. Her eyes were heavy and swollen from the previous night, everything coming back to her in a sudden
Well, that's
flash
good.
that spelled out the
That was the
realization of her
intention.
reality. Her beloved was dead. She didn't want to believe it, but it was true, and that's what she despised the most. Getting over her mother was hard enough, as now
Yeah,
she
poor
had to move on
Sunset
without
loses her
Twilight
goddamn
at her
mother
side.
and the person
A feat
closest
she
to her.
saw as impossible,
Damn.
but she knew it wasn't. The next thing that came to her mind was how she'd ended up back here. All she had remembered was crying endlessly until she passed out on Twilight's corpse. So who had come to retrieve her in the cave? Then she remembered her father. That had to have been the one who brought her back here, seeing he was the only person who wasn't against her and aware of their current location. Rather than debating it
That
further,
hurt.
she decided to just see for herself, lifting the sheets from her body and finding her way to the door. It wasn't long before she was in the living room, where her father sat in a position that spoke worry and concern. His wounds and horrid condition now gone and healed as if nothing had ever happened. She was relieved, walking up to him and making her presence
Like, one of the
fully
main
known
complaints
in the
people
light of
had
the
with the
room.
story was Twilight.
Vladimir slowly raised
Like,
his
how she was mean and kind of, like, just a bitch. That is exactly how I pictured, or how I made her. This was not related to EQG at all. Like, the main, like, it was not canon to it. So I made Twilight the character that I wanted to make her, because she had to be something like, what's the word? Like, she had to be something that would make, like, Sunset have an initiative, or that would make Sunset, like, change her. Like, she went from, like, a mean bitch to, like, a more open person because of her. Which is usually what love does to you.
head, and without even
Love
a word,
changes you.
they embraced each other tightly for a long while. It was quiet the entire duration, up until they finally let go, and Sunset spoke first. I have so much to explain.
How would they have a baby? They're female
Vladimir
and
cut her
female.
off instantly, a smile dressing his face.
What I have in
I already
mind
know
is,
everything,
like, I
sweetie.
do have something in mind, but I don't know if I'm
claimed.
gonna.
Your grandmother already told me everything.
Because I gotta finish RTBAA 2 first.
The
Ay,
girls.
ay, ay.
Sunset let out a long sigh before speaking again. Are you mad at me? She questioned. I'll understand completely if you are. Vladimir raised an eyebrow. Attitude,
Excuse me.
Sonny. If anything, I'm
I'm
absolutely,
absolutely proud of you.
He explained. Everything you did was out of good reason, and that's how a leader of our race should act.
I can't
Unlike
read
how
all that.
Moleskin abused his power for
Maybe
the
a
sake of vengeance.
donation.
You also proved that
Something
what is
a
supposed to be
vampire's,
enemy
you know.
race can be accepting to ours in all manners as well. You've proven that the royals are liars and have shown that they can be defeated. Sunset smiled, relieved that she wasn't in trouble with her father, and more relieved that he saw her actions.
Another thing about
as
the
acts
Genshin
not
story
of
is that I'm not
defiance,
sure
but of good reason.
how long it's gonna
Her
be.
smile
It's
faltered
gonna be
not
a
long
longer
after
story
that,
for sure,
The
but
truth of reality hitting
I'm not
her
sure
yet
how.
again.
How long?
Her father noticed and spoke up. Why the long face, Sonny?
Like, the funnest chapter to fucking write was the one where they do the thing together, where they finally you know, accept it. That scene was so fun to write because as a writer you feel it. Like, I had to set it up to where they would, like, see each other as, you know, like, you know, they actually do care for one another as more than just friends, and eventually they, you know, accept it. That scene was so fucking awesome to write because it was really a cool culmination of events. Like, she basically sucks the poison out, or no, she doesn't suck the poison out. She sucks Twilight's blood to cure her, and then pulls away, and yeah, it just suddenly happens. I don't remember what part that was. I think that was part...
It's what happened in the
Was that part
cave.
2? I think that was part 2.
Her father expressed a sympathetic look, putting one of his cold hands on Sunset's right shoulder. What's happened, honey? Sunset could feel tears starting to well up in her eyes as she attempted to respond, her voice starting to turn into sorrow. That girl that I was with, A sudden interruption broke the sorrow, the front door opening and entering her
Let me ask,
grandmother
did you see Twilight Living coming? Did you actually see that coming?
Twilight? Sunset nearly passed out at the sight before her eyes, unsure if she was dreaming, hallucinating, or both in tandem. She was dead in the cave. She was absolutely sure of it. Once Twilight saw the sight of Sunset in the living room, her composure broke into one of sorrow and happiness, running forward and embracing her beloved. "I'm so glad you're finally awake," she exclaims through tears, confusing Sunset even more.
You didn't?
Sunset
wow,
couldn't
I figured
speak,
that'd be pretty predictable.
frozen in a stunned state and unable to comprehend what was happening. Twilight pulled away and stared at Sunset with concern.
I'm not going to take any requests
wrong,
for now
Sonny?
because I've got
I thought you'd be happy to see me.
way too much to do right now.
Sunset's
I'm
father
struggling
cut
to
in,
run 2 projects
attempting
at once.
to resolve all the
RTBA
confusion.
2 and the Genshin fic are
Perhaps
really
it's best
the
we
main
tell
focuses
her
right
about
now.
What happened. He proposed. When what happened? Sunset demanded. I'm happy, but also confused on how this is even possible. Twilight, you were as dead as roadkill. So how the hell are you alive? Twilight nodded, taking a seat on the couch. Well, technically, I'm not alive, Twilight explained, opening her mouth to reveal a pair of glistening fangs stained freshly with crimson blood. Sunset gasped in horror, the realization hitting her like a ton of bricks. She didn't know how to feel, never wanting her beloved to endure this kind of life, but it was clear that the damage was already done.
Well, if you don't know, Savior is
Bastards
free
turned
to download on Bandcamp. You don't have to pay
She
anything.
trailed off, tears escaping her eyes off the end of her words.
It's free for download if you want to go download it.
Twilight nodded as an answer, her father cutting into the conversation.
Since you liked it so much.
When I found you and Twilight in the cave, I assumed the worst as well. However, after I collected you and started
reposition
heading out
this.
of the cave, she suddenly started to show signs of life out of nowhere.
It's like an aftershock.
2 weeks earlier,
The majority of my readings are available on Bandcamp, minus the old stuff.
Vladimir Shimmer couldn't believe the sight before him. His daughter, emotionally exhausted and passed out on a human's torso, and a dead royal on the floor. On one end, he was relieved that he wasn't losing another loved one to a royal, but on another, he was wondering how the hell this was going to be covered up successfully. That could wait for later, though. He was exhausted and wanted to just get himself and his daughter to safety, so he proceeded to doing so, lifting his daughter from the corpse of the human girl who had saved his life, and positioning her in his arms to where he could carry her with comfort. Before turning from the sight, however, Vladimir gave his thanks and condolences to Twilight in her peaceful, eternal slumber. I'm so sorry it turned out this way, but I sincerely appreciate all that you've done for my daughter and I. Your generosity will not be forgotten, human girl. May you rest in peace, wherever you are now. Using his ancient fingers to close Twilight's eyes, he turned from the sight and moved. to
Sorry,
the
but
exit
I'm
of the
captivated.
cave.
I love
He was just about to cross the opening.
Not
when he
because
suddenly
not
heard a
because I'm an
disruption
egotist,
that
but
caused him to
because I
stop
just like
in
to
his
watch them.
tracks.
They're
An eruption
I'm
of
proud of my
coughs
work.
and gasps suddenly filled the cave, to which he turned around to inspect and became shocked at the source of the disturbance. The girl who was dead as a lawn buried in snow just moments ago was coughing, moving, and showing clear signs of life. Vladimir gently lay Sunset up against the wall of the cave, then moved back to the girl. Upon one glance of the girl, he immediately knew what was happening and just how dire the situation was. Newborn vampires needed immediate attention, otherwise they'd die. The girl opened her eyes to reveal her newly gained red irises and eyed Vladimir with desperation, her voice coming out as nothing more than a weak rasp. Please, so thirsty. Now Vladimir had a choice to make. Let it starve and die, or feed it to health. It was a simple choice for him, given the display he'd found when he first arrived. He knew his daughter cared dearly for this girl, so he ran off to find her an animal to sink her fangs into. Sunset started to understand. While she had hoped for Twilight to not endure this life, she had to accept it. Twilight was now a vampire, immortal, part of her kind's species, and most critically, she was now her guide in this new world. Their relationship had officially become an eternal partnership, and now it was Sunset's duty to teach her everything about her world, knowing that Twilight's old world was null and void. It was a sad realization, but it was the reality of their existences, so it was best to just accept it. The venom must work slower on humans, and that's probably the reason why her transformation was delayed. Sunset guessed. Most definitely. Her grandmother chimed in. However, none of that matters now. What matters is that this girl is now your responsibility. She's your partner for eternity now, which means it's up to you to protect and help her in our world until she is fully educated and trained to survive it. I know, and I'm willing to take that responsibility with utmost sincerity. Sunset confirmed, and will hold my word to the day that our eternity ends. Sunset's grandmother nodded and smiled in response, proud of her granddaughter. Very good. Now, over the 2 weeks you were out, I've given Twilight the basics on hunting, but she still struggles with actually going through with it. She's still not fully aware of what she is, and it'll take a while for her to come to full acceptance of what she is now. I'll do my best. Sunset stated confidently, holding her gaze with Twilight's, both of their faces holding the same expression. With the potentially lingering danger and Twilight still new to her life as a vampire, Twilight had decided not to immediately return back to her home.
Like,
While
I
she
just
missed
love
her
this
parents
story.
dearly, she didn't want to
the
cause them
easiest way
any
to say it.
unintentional harm or give the royals any targets to use in their rebellion against Moleskin's defeat. Newborn vampires were subject to the inability to control their instincts, so if she went back now, there was the chance of her attacking and killing not just her parents, but also any human being within a mile's radius. Not only that, but her appearance had changed as well. How would she explain her new eye color and ice-cold skin in a way that made sense? The simple answer was that she couldn't. At least, not in her current state and age as a vampire. She'd need loads of training, experience, and control before she could ever go near her parents ever again. A truth she had come to accept. One that hurt her deeply, but she'd hate herself more if she ever killed her parents on accident. She'd return someday, but only when she was ready to go home. For now, her life was solely her guide and beloved in her rebirth, and she knew Sunset would help her to reach her goal of seeing her parents again, but only time would tell how long it would take. It was a weight Twilight dreaded to endure, but she knew it was for the best. So she did her best to just adapt to her new life and self, doing her best to embrace the long life she had left to live. With Moleskin no longer being an issue, Sunset and Twilight were free to roam as they pleased, and one area they chose to visit as a reminder of how their lives came to be as they were was the spring they had first shared their deepest personal conversation at. It was a beautiful and calm little piece of paradise they could return to and reminisce about their new life together in eternity. And
Also, writer, I really hope that you got a laugh out of some of the scenes as well in this story, because the first scene where Twilight is basically taking a bath in the spring, oh my god, that was so funny. That was so fun to write. That, like, it was funny because, yeah, those two at that point were like two like awkward teenagers.
Do whatever they wished without anybody telling them what to do. The two sat on the shore admiring the calming natural body of water, the only sound being of the steady flow of the clear water and whatever else nature had to offer on that evening in particular. The two were dressed only in their bathing suits, dry as the Sahara Desert in a romantic embrace. Twilight had her head rested on Sunset's left shoulder, her hair pulled up in a ponytail, and her legs laid out on the shore in a relaxed state. Sunset only held herself up with her arms, the rest of her sprawled out on the shore and hair down. Her hair contrasted with the glow of the sun perfectly, seeming to glow in the radiance of the light, to which Sunset admired with her crimson eyes. They had been sitting there like that for nearly an hour, just allowing the natural sounds and ambience of Mother Nature to caress their minds and envelop them in natural bliss. It was perfect harmony, and the two lovers had needed this after what they'd been through with Moleskin. "Hey, Sunset?" Twilight suddenly asked. Sunset replied. "Do you really believe this can last?" Twilight questioned. Sunset raised an eyebrow, sitting up more steadily on the shore, causing Twilight to lift her head from her shoulder. "What do you mean?" Sunset replied. "You know, this piece. It's been almost a month since we defeated Moleskin, and don't you think things have been too quiet for comfort?" This was the question Sunset had hoped to have never had to answer, but she knew eventually it would come up, and she had thought the same thing. She assured Twilight with a comforting smile. "Knowing how my life has gone, it's only a matter of time before something new pops up. I've thought the same, wondering why things have stayed quiet ever since that night. But at the same time, I've also just tried to enjoy the time we have been given before the day comes that we must face the royals again. As my mother once told me, you can't anticipate what may not come, otherwise you'll miss out on what's really important in life. Your mom was a very wise woman," Twilight complimented. "While I'm still trying to accept and come to full reality of what I am, I know I'll always have a piece of my human self inside me, and that piece of me will always keep me wondering what's coming next in this new life and world." Sunset pulled Twilight closer to her in a comforting embrace. "I know, and I won't force you to rid yourself of something that still holds that connection to what you were born as. You'll always be human in some way, and I can accept that. That's the version of you that I fell in love with and will always see as the one I love. Your skin may be as cold as ice, your eyes may be as red as your only life support now, and your heart may no longer beat like a drum. But none of that matters. I'll always love you no matter what, my little sparkle." Twilight's face immediately wore a blush at the compliment, her lips forming into a smile. "And while you may not be as bossy as when we first met, I'll always love you as you are, Sunny." Twilight returned. "Oh, so you did like my bitchiness," Sunset teased. No. I was just joking, Sunny," Twilight quickly answered. Sunset merely laughed in her victory. "I know, I'm just teasing, Twi," Sunset assured. "But if you do want me to act like a bitch, I'll happily oblige. No thanks. I love you just the way you are." Sunset chuckled at Twilight's cute gesture, noticing that the sun was close to going down. "We should probably head back now," Sunset alerted. "Yeah, that's a good idea," Twilight agreed. "But before we leave, can we take one swim? Just like old times?" Sunset smiled, making her way to her feet. "All right, but just one," Sunset agreed, proceeding to remove her bathing suit in a teasing manner. Twilight smiled seductively at the action, doing her own strip teasing as she undid her bathing suit. Once they were done teasing one another, they raced each other into the spring and, starch naked as a newborn at birth, shared one long and romantic swim in their own personal paradise. While the future was unsure, the two knew they would find a way to overcome any obstacle in their eternity together. Royals, humans, natural disaster, death. Their love would find a way to overcome them all in eternity and beyond.
Oh, that's such a good story. Great ending, too. I love that story. Yeah, I love watching that because I'm proud of myself for that one. That one was actually really good. Like, even the song that is at the end right there is something I came up with, like, not even a week into, like, playing the keyboard. And that does have lyrics. Alright. Enough stalling. Let's see. So this is done. So I'm just going to save this just so we have some basis. I really don't want to do all of them, but I guess I can EQ them, and I don't know. Is that a good thing to do right now? I've been streaming for, I think, 5 hours. Oh, I can just look it up right here. Nope, I'm way off. I'm on 2 hours. Wait, I didn't start at 2, did I? I don't know. I don't remember. It says 2 hours, so. Felt like 5 hours for fuck's sake, but I think I'm going to call it there. I don't want to overwork myself too much. So, it was fun chatting with everybody, and all I can say is to look forward to what's coming out, and yeah, that's about all I can say. So thank you all for joining me, and I'll see y'all later.